Well, hello, everyone. I'm Alvin King, host of He Said, He Said, He Said, a look at the world from a seasoned Black man's perspective. Tonight, we have a triple threat show for you. Welcome to our live show. Well, hello again, everyone. And again, welcome to He Said, He Said, He Said, a look at the world from a seasoned Black man's perspective. Happy March the 8th to everybody. I mean, spring is knocking at our door. I don't know if it's 10, 11, or 9 days before spring. It may be more, but it is knocking at our door. I hope all of you have had a great week, and we are so excited about our show tonight. And we are excited about the series that we are kicking off tonight. It's all about art. And many of you know that art can help us understand our history, our culture, our lives, and the experience of others in ways that cannot be achieved through other means. It can also be a source of inspiration, reflection, and joy. So for the month of March, we are calling March for Art. And tonight, we have a special guest with us to kick off our series, top model, restaurateur, and visual artist Alvin Clayton-Fernandes is with us tonight, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm telling you, we have a long history. I'm going to share that with you guys. Many of you know that I've been in the fashion industry for a long time, and I've just had the opportunity to work with the greats. And I'm so glad to have Alvin here to share other portions of his life with us tonight. As I mentioned, spring is upon us, and this week is spring. Time is springing forward. Daylight savings time will happen on Sunday, so we have to, spring forward. We're going to lose an hour of sleep, people say, but I'm still trying to catch up from when we lost an hour. So maybe that will center me, and that will put me where I need to be. And speaking of springing forward, I'm going to also use that word to say that it is spring break week. And I just want to urge everyone who is taking a spring break, wherever you go to vacation or whatever you have to do, please act responsibly. Please. So much is going on in this world. And, spring break can bring out the best of us in ways that we don't know until we get in that moment. But I'm asking you all to please take care of yourself. And also, we are celebrating Women's History Month right now, ladies and gentlemen. And we thought that, in honor of some of the extraordinary women during Women's History Month, that we would recognize some of them during the month. And so tonight, Amanda Gorman, the youngest inaugural poet in U.S. history, as well as an award-winning writer and cum laude graduate of Harvard University, where she studied sociology. She has written for the New York Times and has 2 books, Change Sings, a children's anthem, and The Hill We Climb and Other Poems, both being released by Penguin Random House in September of 2024. She was born in Los Angeles. She began writing at only a few years of age. She gained international fame when she read her poem, The Hill We Climbed, at the 2021 inauguration of U.S. President Joe Biden. Now, her words have won her invitations to the Obama White House, she says, and to perform for Lin-Manuel Miranda, Al Gore, Secretary Hillary Clinton, Malala Yousafzai, and others. Amanda has also performed multiple commission poems for CBS This Morning, and she has spoken at events and venues across the country, including the Library of Congress and the Lincoln Center. Amanda has written for the New York Times newsletter, The Edit, and penned the man for Nike's 2020 Black History Month campaign. In 2017, Amanda Gorman was appointed the first ever National Youth Poet Laureate by Urban World, a program that supports youth poet laureates in more than 60 cities, regions, and states nationally. She is the recipient of the Poet and Writers Barnes & Noble Writers for Writers Award and is the youngest board member of 826 National, the largest youth writing network in the United States. Tonight, we recognize wordsmith, changemaker, Amanda Gorman, ladies and gentlemen, for National Women's Month. We salute you, Miss Gorman. Well, you know, I can't do what I do without the people who I do it with so well every week. So if you all are ready, let's get on with the chat. Well, hello, hello. How you guys doing?
Good evening.
Good evening. Look at those smiles. Oh my God. Let me take a sip. Wait, hold on.
It is always a big screen of teeth whenever we get on the stage, isn't it?
It really is. As if we have
Thank goodness. Thank goodness.
So you guys have a good week?
Yeah.
Had a good week, crazy week. I do want to just very quickly, because you did that wonderful, wonderful tribute to Amanda Gorman, want to say, as extraordinary as she is, my heart is heavy because I know that there are states now that have banned her books because of the spirit and the energy that surrounds her work and the eloquence of her words that seek to uplift and bring awareness to diversity and equity, inclusion, and all those things. But she is extraordinary in so many ways. So we do indeed lift her name here on He Said, He Said, He Said.
I'm glad you said that, Bobby, because that's why, you know, we meet, ladies and gentlemen, more than we with each other than we do with our families. So when we were talking about all these extraordinary women that we could honor this month, Amanda's name didn't even come up in our conversation. And when I left you guys, something dawned on me. I said, you know what, with everything that's going on in the world, Bobby, and you just brought out what I was thinking when I selected her. So thank you. Thank you. Hey, can we say hi? Well, can we say hi to everybody right now? Because the folks are here, ladies and gentlemen. Beth, welcome to the show. Raw Health, welcome to the show. George, Errol Smith, Dwayne Pureheart, thank you all for joining. Michelle Bowie, thank you guys for joining us tonight. Look, y'all know Alvin Fernandes is on this show. Y'all already know. You know.
As if all this wasn't enough for y'all to look at. Y'all said Alvin is going to be on the show tonight. So
hey, let me ask you all a question. Did you all see the State of the Union last night? Any of it?
I did.
You did?
I did.
Okay. Did you? I did not until I came in and I saw the last. Well, I saw the last piece of it with that Senator Katie Britt giving her Republican response. I hadn't seen any of the actual
speech by Joe Biden.
Biden, but from what I hear, he was really good. Would you say that?
I would say that he was on his game. I think at a time when his age and his energy and all of those things are being questioned, I think he rose to the occasion for the evening. I was also really taken back by what I have felt is an ongoing decline of decorum in that space during the State of the Union. I certainly have always seen that as a very important kind of like sacred space for important information about, you know, our nation and the state of where we are and the issues we're dealing with. But to hear people just yelling out, you know, liar, and that's not true. And, you know, Marjorie Taylor Greene was sitting there in a full, you know, Make America Great Again outfit. That like, it reminds me of when that Republican yelled at Obama years ago, first when he said liar, right. And everybody was just aghast, right. But it kind of like opened the door, I think, to this kind of like free for all. And these are the leaders of our nation, and to see them kind of like act that way, it's just kind of sad to me.
It was like being at a black movie theater during a movie back in the day.
Talking to the screen.
See, in Compton.
The opinions expressed are theirs.
Okay. No, I'm just saying they are Vash. You know, we might have to do a disclaimer tonight because he's on fire tonight.
Look, I just say stuff. I like to give people a reference that they have a visceral connection to what I'm saying. And everybody who just heard what I said, grab that.
Look, Dawn said Union Station. Stop it. Stop it. See? How you doing,
it's
Kay?
true. It's true. I don't go to that movie for that very reason. I'm like, the only people I want to hear speaking are in the movie. Like
for that reason. Yeah.
I really think that there should be a movie theater that has showings where you can talk back, because sometimes when people say funny stuff, it really does make the movie. But other times I want them to be quiet.
I do not want that experience.
Okay, well, I prefer that they leave it at the State of the Union, not when because that's not a place.
They should even leave it at home, but they should not be doing it at the State of the Union.
But yeah, I don't think I would do that. But I saw someone. I want to say hi to her, Denise Ditch. Thank you for joining the show tonight. I know you're here to see Alvin Fernandes. Thank you so much for tuning in with us tonight, Denise. I again saw the last piece, the woman giving the Republican response, and I don't want to spend too much time on her because I hope that Saturday Night Live do justice. And
if they don't get her,
oh
my gosh,
I am going to look at Saturday Night Live tomorrow just for that.
They have to get her. They have to. Vash, I don't know if you saw her, but it was as
Google
close to like a Stepford wife, dramatic. It just was like, why do they have her doing this?
The fact that she was in the kitchen setting women back 1,000 years. Get out the kitchen. Why couldn't you go on and off? Why you got to do it from you? It was so many things weird about it. I can't even call it. See, it was just weird. And when I came in last night, I turned the TV on and I saw her and I was like, what is she doing?
It was literally out of the Stepford Wives. It was bad.
I've seen the thumbnail. I'll have to watch it. Thank you.
It was bad.
Please watch it. So, all right, guys. So, we have a great show tonight. We are starting our, March for Art series.
Absolutely.
And we are kicking it off in a very high way. But, I know we got stuff going on. And so what else has been happening in your world?
Well, we got a couple of things we want to talk about before we get to the other Alvin tonight, because of course we've got two on screen tonight, so we've got the other ones. But I wanted to talk to you guys about what I found really, really exciting, because it represents a very important part of my growing up, and that is the HBCU experience. 35 years after this iconic show aired, A Different World, the cast got back together and they are doing a historically Black college and university tour to raise awareness and to raise scholarship fund. Now, who of us can forget the spinoff from The Cosby Show that followed daughter Denise Huxtable to the fictitious HBCU Hillman? All of us remembered Hillman. Mm-hmm. And as a proud Howard graduate myself, I was just enamored by this portrayal of the HBCU experience. Many members of the cast who were there include Jasmine Guy, Kadeem Hardison, Dawn Lewis, Glenn Turman, Cree Summer, Charnel Brown, and Darryl Bell. There was also, when the tour kicked off down at Morehouse in Spelman, there was also a surprise visit by comedian Sinbad, who suffered a stroke a couple of years ago, but was able to join them virtually, and the crowd went up. I don't know that A Different World was famous for tackling a lot of controversial issues during that time. And one of the things that they noted is that the HBCU enrollment increased 26% between 76 and 1994. And a lot of that was due to the exposure that people had across the country by watching this television show about the HBCU experience. So I am just really, really excited to see. They look great and they're out here talking about the show, some of the behind the scenes things, but also, as I said, trying to raise awareness and raise scholarships at HBCU. So A Different World, I'm loving it.
And we do need them right now because we are in a different world. And I mean, so it is, thank you. That's a feel-good story.
Totally.
So, totally. Thank you, Bobby. Thank you. Because I love that show. I really did. I was way beyond college years when I started looking at it, but I just love what they brought to the table or to television, and it was really good.
And I love that it's in syndication now because it's introducing that whole cast And, for these college students, obviously, who were not even born 35 years ago, they're still familiar with this cast because the show is in syndication. So
exactly.
love it.
Thank you.
And the stories continue to be relevant.
Yes.
Amen. How about that?
Yes, indeed.
How about that?
Well, another amazing feel-good story that is tied to Black education centers around a Chinese family and a Black family and Coronado, California. So years ago, a Black couple, Gus and Emma Thompson, rented their home and a space to a Chinese American family in Coronado, California, when no one else would rent to them. And now that family, that Chinese family, the Dong family, they are donating $5 million to the Black community and for Black children to go to school. So quickly, back in 1939, the Dongs, a Chinese family in Coronado, California, found themselves without a place to live and unable to rent because of the racially restrictive housing laws preventing anyone or anything other than white buyers and renters. So Emma and Gus Thompson, a Black entrepreneurial couple in town, allowed the family to rent and eventually buy their Coronado property. Now, as their response to the call for reparations to Black Americans and to thank the Thompsons for helping them get a toehold in the American society, the Dongs are using proceeds from the sale of the house and donating $5 million to Black college students.
That is unbelievable and just extraordinary.
It speaks to so many different things.
So many different things. I mean, first of all, the fact that in the Thompsons, Gus Thompson specifically, moved to Coronado in 1895 and built his home in Coronado before those racial housing covenants took effect. I am wondering how many days after he built his house and people realized that he, a Black man, had property, did they come up with housing restrictions?
Come on.
It's just evidence that every time Black folks do something in this country, there is a push by a certain group of people to put restrictions on them and around them to suddenly make them illegal. Well, anyway, in 1995, the Dongs bought the house from the Thompsons, and they became the first Chinese family to own property in Coronado. It's just amazing.
That is utterly amazing. But, I have a friend whose family has owned property here in the DC area for many, many, many years. And she actually showed me a document that her parents held on to that had in writing that property was never to be sold to a Black person, an African American, or Negro. Like it.
I was about to say the wording was a little different.
It was Negro, I think, as I read it. But the thought, like, to be able to see something like that, and to know that it was written into the contract of the house and that it was a legally binding, sanctioned and legally binding thing, is the kind of thing that I think of when I hear a political candidate seeking to run the nation say something as asinine and stupid as America has never been a racist country. Because I'm just like, well, what country are you speaking about?
Right. And there's still things on the books. It also provides context as we look around to what's going on the planet, and the colonial supremacy structure is still moving out, trying to either take or prevent people from owning land, trying to vilify and call people savages. There are enough people on the planet still who were victims of that, who watched it happen to other people, who are saying, wait a minute, that's the same thing you did to us, and it's time to put an end to it.
Yep.
And imagine how they feel. So basically reliving all that.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. See, you guys. Oh, hold on. Troy says the whole Gold Coast in DC had those covenants, and the Jewish community bought out the area and then sold to Blacks. Troy is one of my resident, most highly respected real estate agents.
And he knows what he's talking about. Troy knows what he's talking about.
He knows what he's talking about. And Beth said that document needs to be in a museum, history books to prove that point. Come on, that's right. I mean, Bobby, that's extraordinary. Wow.
I'm sure
Wow.
Troy could probably run across it as one of DC's premier realtors. I'm sure he's probably seen him as well. It's disheartening, but shout out to the Dongs.
Yes,
For
yes.
saying, you know what, we want to give back to a culture and a people that supported us when we didn't have a place to live, to now donate $5 million back to the community. Shout out to the Dongs.
Yes. And they are working to make sure that a building on the San Diego State University is named after Gus and Emma Thompson.
That's what I'm talking.
Because, it's like, there's such a connection between the Chinese Americans and Black Americans, especially the former slaves, because white people were not giving Chinese people permits to open stores in their location. They get them permits to open them in Black communities, and Black communities were not allowed to shop in white communities, so they had to shop in the Asian communities. So when we look at where we are as a society right now, and you wonder why there's so many Asian markets in Black neighborhoods, it is because of oppression, supremacy, and colonialism.
Absolutely. Black people didn't have access to the property from the beginning.
Exactly.
Well, okay. See, you all. Again, these feel-good stories. Okay, I'm about to go pull out. Well, I can't say fur coat because I don't have one. But I'm positive. But I'm just gonna give you all. Look, I'm gonna add to your what do you call it? Your feel-good story basket.
Give it.
I want to talk about a young man by the name of Raja Caruth, who made a leap from his computer racer to NASCAR National Series winner last Friday.
Wow.
In my research, I found out that Raja was born in Atlanta in a Caribbean household and was raised in Washington, D.C. And Raja was like any other 4-year-old boy the first time he watched the movies Cars, and vowed to become his own version of Lightning McQueen. According to his family, Raja was obsessed with becoming a race car driver, but he just didn't see how he could get there. So racing cars wasn't something that was really in his reach, at the time. But he took one trip to a racetrack in Richmond, and in 2024, and it fueled every desire that he had. But just like the reigning Daytona 500 winner, William Bryson, Caruth taught himself to race on a computer. 5 years after his trip as a fan to Richmond, Caruth had earned a spot in NASCAR Drivers for Diversity program, where he made his debut in a legend car at Charlotte Motor Speedway at age 17. And just days after HendricksCars.com signed on to sponsor this 21-year-old Caruth for the entire 2024 season, he earned his first career NASCAR National Series victory last Friday in the Truck Series race in Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Caruth has joined Wendell Scott and Bubba Wallace as the only Black drivers to win at NASCAR's level. And this young man just blew me. First of all, I don't even want to go over 60. So, to do what he did, for NASCAR, and we all know NASCAR has a history of not being very diversified.
Inclusive. Yes, inclusive.
And they don't. And it was just in 2020 when, Bubba Wallace found a noose in his garage, and Donald Trump basically got everybody in that NASCAR clan of people to say that he was lying. And, and of course, this was all during the George Floyd, murder and all of that. So it was a pretty fueled time. But NASCAR has come. Well, you can't deny excellence.
That's what we need to just point out. Like, it's the opportunity and the talent and gifts have always been there, but they've never been given access or acknowledged. So I agree. As you said, you can't deny.
You cannot. You can't hold it back. And what he did this week, I'm so proud of him, and I have to share that story. So that is my feel good story to you.
I was going to say, so you did more in.
There's a movie called Gran Turismo about a kid who learns how to race car drive from watching Gran Turismo. and playing Gran Turismo, and then goes and wins. So it's like art is actually
art is imitating life.
Art is imitating life. Well, and I do have one last thing, and I'm throwing this in on you all because, I know both of you are avid travelers. So I think I want to talk about this. Are you familiar with Global Entry? Are you all familiar with Global Entry?
Yep, I am.
Okay, Well, for those of you who are not familiar with Global,
is that a dating app?
No, not this year. No. See, no.
Wow.
Global.
That would be a no.
that would be a big no.
It's good marketing.
Global Entry is like TSA pre-check. So when you go to the airport, you have and you waiting in line to get through the airport or whatever. Global Entry is if you're traveling internationally to help make your flight smoother if you're going to TSA pre-check. And so, first of all, if you're traveling with me and you don't have Global Entry, you cannot travel with me because I'm going to leave you back there because I tell people if you're going to do that. But right now, there's a petition circulating around that people are upset, and I'm not kids or children hating anybody, but parents are saying it is an inconvenience for their kids to have Global Entry and they go through the screening one by one instead of someone saying, let me take my son or my daughter through Global Entry. And people, there's a big conversation about, well, wait a minute. And here are the stipulations, but Global Entry doesn't operate like TSA PreCheck because it's international. And so when I heard this, here's my point on this, and I want you all to weigh in. First of all, it's a safety concern for me. People can hide stuff in kids. You know what I'm saying? So, why should they take that restriction off? I don't see the need.
You're suggesting that a diaper could have multiple types of explosions, is what you're suggesting.
multiple types of explosions, Bobby.
And I do want to point out very quickly.
That was good. That was good.
Troy said that you have to have Global Entry in order for him to even date you. So
come on, Troy.
Dossier, baby. What's your
okay? I don't like. First of all, your credit score, and then Global Entry.
Global Entry. Focus. Global Entry.
Okay, Global Entry. No, but I just thought that when I heard that was a little piece that I saw when we were,
So the problem is the problem is people are feeling that they don't want to go through the entire process of doing Global Entry for each of their kids. They're thinking, if I'm the adult and I'm just bringing my toddler through, they shouldn't have to
have their own
Global Entry account
and process.
Oh, okay.
And it's like,
I think,
and of course, Alvin doesn't feel that.
I don't feel that way. And if that's a means to maybe not travel out of the country until your child gets older, and
or
maybe
keep them out of the Global Entry line. You go over there with all.
You go over there, but you can't have it both ways. Go to TSA PreCheck. Don't go to Global Entry. So don't mess up my hustle.
I have TSA PreCheck. Stop making it feel like it's it's nothing. It's still a bit of a. It's like, hey, you get out of Global Entry and go over to TSA PreCheck.
Look, Troy, in the words of Nene Leakes, I said what I said. Okay. Okay. No,
and there's Clear also. Clear is also.
There's Clear. Yeah. I just think there are other things to petition.
Yeah.
There are other things that are of great importance, but I had to bring that up because it just seems like, come on, people.
Thank you, Kay. I worked on that little explosion thing. I didn't know it was coming, but
it came. So, are you guys ready? We have an amazing guest to kick off our March for Art series, ladies and gentlemen. And Bobby, Vash, are you guys ready? Because
more than ready.
Wow, this is a very special moment for me, as all shows are, but this one has a bit of a twist to it. Okay, so if you all are ready, I want to go ahead and introduce, our special guest tonight.
Absolutely.
If you guys are ready.
Absolutely, yes.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. You all, okay, everybody, get you a cup and sit down and be with us tonight. Our special guest, Alvin Clayton-Fernandes, was born in the Twin Island country of Trinidad and Tobago grew up in Washington, D.C., and attended the prestigious Archbishop Carroll High School before attending Mount St. Mary's University on a soccer and academic scholarship. Growing up a fan of fashion magazines like Gentleman's Quarterly, Details, and Esquire, Alvin mastered the epitome of style and elegance. After being recruited by some of the top fashion agencies like Wilhelmina, Ford Modeling Agency, and IMG, Alvin became the first African-American model to have a full-page spread in Gentleman's Quarterly magazine and to break the interracial color barrier for that magazine. While on the West Coast, Alvin became a partner in the famed Georgia restaurant in Los Angeles with actor and film producer Denzel Washington, Brad Johnson, and several celebrities, to now serve as the owner and operator of the award-winning Alvin and Friends restaurant in New Rochelle. This incredible visual artist, whose work has appeared in the Smithsonian Institute in Washington, D.C., and collected by the likes of Denzel Washington, Kenny Lattimore, and Ken Schultz, in addition to his artwork being featured in several films, like the latest being The Best Man Holiday. He is currently in the process of seeking a museum as a platform for his social conscious art. But tonight, Alvin is here to kick off our March for Art series. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our special guest, Alvin Clayton-Fernandes.
Yeah.
Hey, guys.
Alvin! Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Look, ladies and gentlemen, you heard me say that he is the owner of a restaurant. It is a Friday evening at 7:30, and Alvin is with us. Okay, so I just want you all to know how grateful we are to have you with us tonight, Alvin. Thank you so much, my friend. Thank you.
It's an honor being here, and yeah, it is Friday night, but fortunately, after 14 years of being in the restaurant, having the Alvin and Friends restaurant in New Rochelle, I can get a night off.
Okay. See, that's when you're the owner, baby. Okay.
That's the owner. That's the owner. Yes. I'm fanboying. I have to tell you though, because I remember as a young man picking up GQ magazine and seeing you from time to time and just like, again, feeling representation matters. So it's just such an honor to have you with us this evening.
Well, thank you. And I know that feeling as well, because like when I came to New York, there were people that I actually had seen in the magazines, and I actually was fortunate to get to work with some of them. Renald White, who actually just celebrated his 80th birthday, and we've all stood on his shoulders, and so I appreciate the sentiment. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Well, you have just created a wonderful segue, Alvin, for where I'm getting ready to go with you, because this year marks 35 years that I created the show of my life with Monique Greenwood and Fairchild Publications. And this month marks, in 1989, the National Association of Black Journalists Conference hosted The Soul on 7th Avenue. And at that show, I was blessed to honor all of the top Black models in the world. I mean, Iman, Alvin Chen, Rashid Silvera, Alvin Fernandes, all of you all were there. And I mean, it was a pivotal moment in my career. And I just wanted to take you down memory lane for a moment, back to this show, because, and if my producer, you can go ahead and go to the next shot, because we had Sheila Johnson, Beverly Johnson, Rashid Silvera, Naomi Campbell. I'm getting chills because it was so amazing to have all of you there. And I just remember the moment that I saw you and I said, this guy is an absolute star. Look at that. And just to see you right here with all of them, I just needed to take you back to that moment, because ever since that moment, ladies and gentlemen, I've been able to pick up the phone and ask Alvin, could he come and be in a show that I'm producing, and Alvin would be there. And so thank you.
That last shot that you just showed, it kind of brought tears to my eyes, because one of my dear friends who actually may have been the one that introduced us, Alan Cephas, a
Yes.
DC guy. I mean, I
Yes.
loved Alan so much. He was so handsome, a gentleman beyond gentleman.
Yes.
And and that's James. I can't remember James.
James Vest. James
Yeah,
Vest.
yeah.
James Vest. Yes.
But it was such an amazing group of people at that time, and what was going on in the fashion world at the time was like, it's really magical. And thank you. I mean, we did some great shows, but Alan is one of the people that I miss dearly. He was such an amazing human being, And Rashid actually was just in the restaurant last week at my restaurant, and we got a chance to catch up. So that's nice.
Again, I am honored because when I think about my journey and my history, God blessed me to work with the best right up front. And when Naomi Campbell left that show, she went on to become one of the supermodels of the 90s in the world. And one last piece before I move on, there's a model by the name of Deborah Shaw. I don't know if you all are familiar with Deborah Shaw, but Deborah Shaw was an unknown at that time. She modeled in the show. Alvin and company were being honored, but Deborah Shaw is.
She's blown up now.
I was in the midst of great. So thank you for letting me take you down memory lane, Alvin. Thank you, thank you. And we can move on with our show, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
Well, Alvin, you've got Kay, who has brought up, the Trinidad and Tobago connection. Man, you're from a small island, how to end up in business of modeling.
So, well, actually, one of my friends that I went to attended college with at Mount St. Mary's College at the time. It's now university, but he was a Wilhelmina model, and he would go work with Wilhelmina in the summertime, and whenever he came back, he would always approach me and said, I think you can model. I think you can model. I never really was interested in the modeling, to be honest with you. I was a soccer player. I got an offer to play with San Diego after college, and so I wasn't interested in modeling. But then the soccer league, which was the NASL at the time, folded due to lack of fan support. And so I had a degree in secondary English education and psychology, and I wanted to be a guidance counselor in high school. But at that time, I wasn't ready to start yet. So I called Colin. I said, do you think your agency would see me? It was the Wilhelmina Modeling Agency. He got me an appointment. I came to New York. And they gave me a spiel of how difficult it was for African Americans in the industry and, whatever. And they were kind of like saying, okay, we're going to try you out, but they didn't really sign me. And it's funny, I was in the office one day and Alan walked by, Alan Cephas. He was with Wilhelmina at the time. And Alan said to Dan Dealey, who was the director of the men's division at Wilhelmina, Alan said, if you guys don't sign this guy, you're a fool.
Wow.
I mean, here's Alan Cephas, a black model, and it's very tight and competitive, and him saying something like that to the director. And I always remember that. And because of that, too, I passed that torch on. I would bring models into the agency and they would ask me if I was crazy. But I was like, somebody did it for me, so I could do it for somebody else. But Dan, they did sign me. And, the rest is history.
Wow. Beautiful.
I remember when I was flipping through a Nordstrom catalog and I saw you in a Nordstrom catalog. I think I might have just drove to Nordstrom thinking that you were there because I was so proud. And and then when I did go shopping in Nordstrom, I remember seeing you as one of the advertisement, this huge, kind of, billboard kind of thing inside the store. So I said, Alvin is there. So wow, and that's how it all started with Alan Cephas.
Right.
Wow.
Well, the thing is, so when you get into the modeling industry, everybody wants to be, male models particularly they want to model with GQ. That's the Vogue for Men magazine, basically. And I had seen all these amazing models that when I came into the industry that were not working for GQ, and the agency Wilhelmina they wanted to send me to go see GQ right away. And I refused. I said, I'm not ready to see GQ. And I waited 6 months. I got my portfolio together when I thought that I was comfortable showing my portfolio to clients. And I came in but it had been about 6 months or so. And I came into the agency on a lunchtime, and Martha Pacione was one of my agents back then. And I said to Martha at lunch, I said, I think I'm ready to see GQ. And so she made a call to GQ right there, went over to 350 Madison, jumped on my bike, went over, and I had like a 5-minute interview with the model editor. And it was very cordial. I came back to the agency, and then she said to me, my agent said, so how did the interview go? I said, I think it went well. She goes, it must have went really well. They just booked you. So the same day that I saw GQ, they booked me for a 4-page spread. And so now I had this dilemma on the job. It's like, every model that I'd ever seen in GQ had that, like somebody just killed my dog look, like that stern GQ look. And my portfolios were like mostly smiles. I mean, that's who I was as a person. And so I was like, am I supposed to give the GQ look? And then I said, you know what? They saw my portfolio. And so I gave the Alvin look. And it was with Arthur Elgort, 4 pages. So I shot with Arthur. And then I came back to the agency, and they asked me, how did the shoot go? It was great. I worked with Louise Viant that day as well. And I came back to the agency, and they were teasing. They were like, how did the shoot go? I said, it went well. I said, I think they like me. They go, well, they just booked you again for another shoot tomorrow. Wow. For another 4 pages. And it was with Olivera Toscani, who was shooting all of the Benetton ads at the time. And so I did that. And it was the first time that a person of color had like 8 full pages in GQ. And so that's what made my career. And that's actually was when Nordstrom's booked me for the first time. And then I had like a several-year run with Nordstrom's where I did almost all their major catalogs.
Everything.
There was a time when you were everywhere. Like anytime I looked at the magazine, I'm like, oh, black man.
So, well, you know what? It's we also were fortunate because we had GQ, and then we had EM magazine. Remember, EM came
Ebony
out
Man
shortly after that, and that's another great story too, because Alfred Forney, sorry, that was the editor of Ebony magazine. They'd started EM magazine, and they had already booked for the initial casting of EM, the first EM. And I went up to the office and I saw them after, and there was another model that was very successful, Ben Lawson. So Alfred Forney saw me and he said, oh my God, you remind me of a baby Ben Lawson. And even though they had booked the job, he hired me for the job. And I worked for them until they closed. Like I was in there like almost every month. Yeah. So I had at one point, I think I had like a 15-year spread where I did at least one job a week for like 15 years as a model. So it was pretty good.
Way to go.
Incredible.
Way to go.
Well, what's changed in the business?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
The business, it's so different. So like about 3 years ago, I did, we're talking about the art. I started putting out, after the George Floyd situation, I started putting out some of my political pieces that I was doing, just the way that things were affecting me. I just felt like I had to have a voice. And so I own a college in New Rochelle. They reached me and they said, you know what, this art is very relevant with everything that's going on right now. We would love to do a show for you. So it was during COVID. So they did a virtual show, and it was called Unapologetically Me. And it was 23 of my political pieces. And it went viral, and somehow it got to IMG Modeling Agency. And so Ivan Bart, who rest his soul, who's just passed away recently, Ivan remembered me when I was a Ford model. And so he reached out to me personally and said, hey, you know what, we'd like to sign you. And I said, well, I hadn't been modeling for like about 7 or 8 years. I said, I'm not really interested in modeling anymore, but if you would like sign me where I don't have to do castings and different things like that. If a client wants to book me, you can book me. And then they agreed. And so I've been working with them doing some jobs here and there. But the whole industry now is like, it's so changed. I really feel that if I was a model today, I don't think I'd be as successful as I had been back then, because it was about relationships. You know, I would get in to see a client and be able to sell myself basically because of personality or whatever. Now today, everything is virtual. You send the portfolio over, you know, it's called a deck now. You send the deck over, and so they don't really know your personality that much. You know, we did a lot of trips back then, and even the jobs that I've done in recently, I'm in there like literally 2 hours, even though I've been booked for the whole day because that was my one of my things that they had to do. They had to book me for a day. I would go in, but I'm so comfortable in front of the camera, and they have videos set up, the screens, and the photographer is shooting, and it comes up on the screen right away. And they say, okay, we got that shot. And I don't think I worked more than 3 hours for any job that I've done in the last years. But it's really the relationships on there. Makeup artist is different. It's just a totally different field these days.
I'm just going to say I echo you, and I'm going to keep that moving because I'm just going to say I truly echo you in every possible way. Yes, I do.
Well, you shared with us about this exhibit that you began with the school nearby, and obviously we have known you for many years as a model. Share with us a little bit about when you began as a serious artist. And a question I have about your art is there a role that an artist plays in society today? You feel
absolutely. So I'll start with the art. So coming from Trinidad, I've always loved art as a child. I would draw, and but you couldn't tell a Caribbean parent you wanted to be an artist. So let's just go there. So, but anyways, I continued having the love of art inside of me, and I was in Paris, and I went to Musée d'Orsay. I absolutely fell in love with the paintings by Henri Matisse, and so I started copying Matisse's work to teach myself how to paint. And I started painting, and I never showed anyone. I painted for like 2 years. I had a loft on 10th Street and 2nd Avenue. It was completely covered with art. And my agent came in, and she saw my work, and she said, you know what, these are really good. I have a friend that has a gallery in Soho. I'd like for her to see your work. And that was the Lee Arthur studio. So Lee came to my loft, and she's like, wow, these are really good. I want to give you an art show. She gave me a show 2 months later. We showed 27 pieces. We sold 19 pieces in 2 weeks. And during that time, Elsa Clench had a show called CNN House of Style. And, you know, I'm truly a blessed person, because when in retrospect, when I look at my life and how it's unraveled, it's really something special that I know I'm blessed. But Elsa Clinch had this show, and she was featuring models, and I was one of her stories at the time. And it was during the time that the Lee Arthur show was up. So as part of the story, she featured my art. So CNN going all over the world, people saw my art for the first time. So then I had people calling me from all over. Where can we buy your art? And that's how it became a career.
Wow.
And as far as the work for the artists, you know, when you opened the show and you're talking about Amanda Gorman and, you know, her poems being burned or blocked or whatever, it just reinforced me the power of art, you know, because if people didn't think that it was powerful, they wouldn't have to do anything with it, right? And so I think for me, there definitely is a place for art. I mean, and there's so many different forms, whether it's in acting, whether it's in dance. I mean, I've gone to dance where I've seen people dance so beautifully that you cry, right? And so that expression is like very important, and it reaches someone. And one CCH Pounder, the actress, she represented my work at one time. And CC's husband, Bubakai, said to me one time, he's like, because art is so important. And what it does is it brings out our humanity, right? So if somebody has a brick on a wall, 5 people might come and they'd all have an opinion on it, but they will talk about it. And that's what art is meant to do. It's to bring out our humanity. So what I try to do with my art is to kind of reach the humanity of who we are. And I don't try to make judgments always. It's how something is affecting me personally. Yeah. And then you can draw your own conclusions from that. But that's what I try to do with everything that I paint.
Thank you. Okay.
That's excellent. Excellent. Now, you did mention, and on that trip to Paris, the Matisse influence. And so I'm just kind of curious, are there other influences outside of Matisse?
Oh, no, absolutely. James Van Der Zee. I love, I think for me, what I did with my art, even before it was political, I felt in my own mind that my art was political because, the media has a version of what how it expresses us. And for me, a lot of my art, especially my earlier art, it's seeing Black people in beautiful environment. It's seeing a Black person with a child with her father, to say that, we're here too. We have all the experiences that the white, establishment doesn't always, celebrate us with. Mm-hmm. And so all of those little things, as subtle as they were political for me. Anybody that kind of like puts us in a positive light is an influence for me. I mean, I get influenced by almost everything and everyone that I see. I mean, so it's all over. It's all around positive images.
Well, I know that our producer while you were talking, he showed some of your more political images, Alvin. But what I'd like to do, I want to take a moment to show a few other pieces of your work and have you to just briefly tell us about them. Can we start right now, Norman, please, our producer? Mm-hmm. I think this one is the woman holding the baby. I wanted to name them all myself, and so this piece of art spoke to me.
So this piece is called The Diary of a Wet Nurse. And I was, when I initially did this painting, I had just the Black mother with the white child. And what I wanted to do was to kind of like have the viewer bring their own interpretation of it, because the world has changed. That could be her baby. A Black woman can have a white baby. But I wanted it to be The Diary of a Wet Nurse, which was like back in the slavery days when the Black woman had a child and the white master had a child as well. The Black woman was forced to feed the child. And so I told my friend CCH, I said, this is what this piece is. And then she said to me, she goes, well, something is missing if that's the message that you want to do. And I said, what's missing? She goes, a Black child, because when that white baby was being fed, the Black child was suffering. So I actually went back and I added the Black baby next to the mother on the floor. And if you almost have to look intently to see, because the baby almost blends in because they're ignored. And so that's the significance of that. And, so that's what I wanted to put out in that piece.
Well, the next 2 images are 3 little girls. We have the girls hugging, and then if we could show the next, and then the 3 girls at the front door. So right. But I just want to stop it. Can you give us a brief synopsis on what these 2 images represent?
It's all about friendship, right? And the 3 little girls here, they have their own individual personalities. They're just cute, 3 little cute girls. The other piece that you showed before with the 3. There's an interracial component to that. And that piece just actually came down from a show that was at the Rye Art Center in Rye, New York. But what I wanted to do with this piece is like, we know what all the problems are. And what I try to think sometimes, what are the solutions? Mm-hmm. And so I have this image of these 3 girls, 2 Black and 1 white, and they're just friends. And the reason that I gave the vision from the back is because you don't have to bring anything about it. You can relate to the humanity of them being friends. And they're looking out almost into this, into the future. And the reason that I did that like that is because, you know, I think that women, for some reason, show a lot more empathy than men in a lot of ways. And they are going to be the mothers of children in the future. And I'm hoping that the friendship that they have and the empathy that they have as human beings would come to a place where they will pass that on to their children, and we can have a better future and a world to live in. So.
Thank you. Well, we're going to show two more because I want to make sure this is one of my favorites also because I love dance. And I'm just show the next image because, and then we can go back. And this is the reason why I have just paid for my vacation. So, can we go back to the first image, please?
Well, you know what? I just love every element of art, right? And I love dance as well. I love jazz. I love music. And, you know, dealing with all of this stuff that we deal with on a day-to-day basis, like with the news, the negative stuff, you know, sometimes you just have to kind of like close it off. And whenever I close it off, I have to go to my happy place. And my happy place is the arts and dance and music and joy. And so I bring these to give people that pause to say, you know what, it's rough out there, but we can make the best of it also. And that's a choice that we have as people, right? We can choose to be depressed all the time, or we can choose to take it as we choose to take it. And so this is like my escape to that. And the Paris one was, I was in Paris last November and I came back, and Paris is one of my favorite cities in the world. I was fortunate when I was modeling to live in Paris. I was between Paris and New York for like 2 years, and it's still one of my favorite cities. And I was just doing a little daydreaming. If you notice the restaurant on it is Alvin et ses amis, Alvin and Friends Paris. You know?
I love it. I love it. Well, no, thank you. Thank you for sharing that, Alvin. And for all of you who are watching, please, if you're on Instagram, you can go to Alvin Clayton Art on IG. Please fill Alvin Clayton Art on IG. There it is right there. So yeah, okay. Thank you, Alvin. Thank you, because we want to make sure we have a couple of more questions for you, and I want to make sure that we get those in. Yes. All right.
Well, I think your mic is off, Bobby.
Lord, you're muted.
Okay.
There you are. You're with us. You're with us.
I think Vash had something to do with that, but that's a whole nother story. But I was saying it makes for a perfect segue because you were talking about the restaurant in the painting. And the question that I was about to ask you is to tell us a little bit about this award-winning restaurant that you own, Alvin and Friends. How did you even, you modeled, painting, how did you get into the restaurant business?
Okay, so one of my dear friends, and you know, God rest her soul, she was like I considered her my model wife, Gail O'Neill.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So Gail,
Wrestler's Spirit.
I probably worked with Gail more than any other female model. Gail and Louise Viant were my two model wives. I always like to joke around. But Gail and I were on a Macy's shoot, and she said to me, she's like, so I'd been like about 15 years into the modeling career. And she said, so Alvin, what are you going to do after modeling? And I knew after having been off the regular workforce for such a long time, I had to create something for myself. I've been cooking with my grandmother since I was like 8 years old in the kitchen, wow. You know, and I'd worked when I started as a waiter. And so I said, you know what? I know how to cook. I need to create something for myself. Maybe I'll do a restaurant. And she was dating Brad Johnson at the time, who's a restaurateur. His father had the cellar in New York, and Brad opened Roxbury in LA and stuff. And so she introduced me to Brad, and he was just about to open this new restaurant. And so he took a liking to me and invited me to be a partner with them. So I invested with this restaurant, and I learned back at the house from him. So it was Georgia Restaurant in LA. And it turns out, you know, it was a celebrity-based restaurant. Denzel, Debbie Allen, Norm Nixon, they were all partners in this restaurant. So I once again, I stepped in it, right? So, so I learned back at the house from them. And then, so fast forward, the restaurant closed. The one thing that I learned from that, or I learned several things from that, but one of the main things was we didn't own the building. So the building was sold from under us, and a new owner tried to basically be our partner because what he wanted for rent made no sense at all. And so I said, if I'm ever to do a restaurant again, I will make sure that I either own the building or have the first refusal to buy the building. And so once that closed, I moved back to the East Coast with my family. And 14 years ago, I opened Alvin and Friends, which is Caribbean from my roots. And then I took some of the energies of that Southern restaurant. So it's Caribbean and Southern, and it's fine dining. Oh, we've won for the last 14 years the best of Westchester as the best Southern and Caribbean restaurant. The other great thing about the restaurant, it's probably the most diverse restaurant in Westchester. You come into the restaurant, and it's one of the things I'm most proud of. You see people of every walks of life in there. And the one common thread is they're having a great time. We have live jazz on Fridays and Saturday nights. And, you know, we've had Viola Davis has been there. Denzel's been there. Joy Reid just came in recently. Sonny Hostin from The View. And, you know, it's just a fun place to be, you know. So, and I go to all the tables. If I'm there, I'm not there tonight. And I greet all my guests because people ask, why is it named Alvin and Friends? And the reason is because the most significant meals I've ever had have been with friends. And it's not so much what you're eating, but it's the camaraderie of breaking bread together. So I keep that tradition. I go to all the tables and welcome everybody.
Well, Charles Reese said, Alvin, I used to go to Georgia on Melrose in LA back in the day.
All right.
I agree. That was the spot. The food was delicious. Yeah. And it happened. You were like the first Black restaurant in that Melrose area. Like y'all were bringing in the folks.
Yep. So, and actually that restaurant opened in '93 and it won Bon Appetit and Esquire is the best new restaurant of the year.
Wow. Fabulous. It was fabulous. The food was just absolutely delicious. Wow. So I have a question for you, because in addition to your modeling career and owning and operating a restaurant, you're also a husband and a father. That's a lot of stuff. What's your secret to staying in balance?
You know what? First of all, I have a great wife. You know, we're celebrating our 30th wedding anniversary this year. She is like, you know, the foundation of the family, and she, you know, we've kept it together. And you know, the days that I can't get up or don't feel like getting up, she makes sure that I get up. Right? And so it's really it's a partnership, and you know, I once again, in that capacity, I'm blessed. We have 4 great kids, and you know, they're all kind of grown now. A couple of them help us out at the restaurant, and it's just, you know, it's really a family affair. And the great thing about having your business is it's given us the time to actually give time to our children as well. Mm-hmm. As tough as it is, and the sacrifices we have to make, we're still able, when we need to show up, we can show up, and we don't have to ask anybody's permission to show up, which is great. So.
Well, first of all, okay, I don't like when we get to the end of the show because I know we can go on and on and on, but I want to stop us right here. First of all, to say thank you, Alvin, for blessing us with yourself, your gifts, your story. We appreciate it, and for kicking off our March for Art series. You know how much I feel about you. You're just like, wow, you're as much of the Alvin King journey as I can say. So thank you for joining us tonight. Really do appreciate it. And before we move on, I just want to say hello to Emerson. I want to say hello to Racine. I want to say hello to Troy. I don't think we did that. I see something to Rodney. You guys have been in here commenting, and we've just been talking to Alf and to Charles. Thank you for being here. But we have reached the end of our show, ladies and gentlemen. And before we go, I want to tell you that next week we are continuing our March for Art series, and we will have Atlanta-based artist Cyrus Nelson will be here next week. You don't want to miss it. And our words of the week for this week is, all art should inspire and evoke emotion. Art should be something you can actually feel. And I just want to thank Bobby for also providing the words of the week, as he always does. And again, Alvin, thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you. And shout out to Denise Ditch. She's from Mount St. Mary's University.
Did I? Yeah, did I? I'm sorry, Denise, because I think, hello, Denise. Hello, Denise again. Hello, Denise.
No, you gave her a shout out.
Okay, but Denise, I love her being in the house. So thank you, Denise.
Hey, Denise. Hey, Emerson, everybody.
Thank you all. And we look forward to seeing you all next week on a new episode of He Said.
He said.
He said.
With one less Alvin. You all have a great
night. We made it, though. We made it through with 2 Alvins.
Have a good night, everybody. Be safe this weekend.
Thanks, everybody.